everybody, welcome to another video from Juniper Farms. Today we are going to be making whole wheat bread. Now this recipe is different than the ones I've showed you in the past. I came across it not too long ago and tried it out on a whim, and as it turns out it has become our favorite go-to sandwich recipe for sandwiches, toast, anything really that calls for a dense kind of sandwich bread. It's not going to fall apart on you. It's not going to be too airy, but it is very flavorful. Now I've gotten some of this already started, so I'm going to tell you that, and I will be posting the recipe that I use with the video. So just to let you know, what I have in here is 3 cups of all-purpose flour and then 3 cups of whole wheat flour. Now you can use 6 cups of all-purpose flour if that's what you like. That's completely fine. What I don't recommend is using 6 cups of whole wheat. You do want to half and half it. Now I've already made some that's just the all-purpose flour, and it's rising right now. So right now we're doing another batch that is lower in carbs and has a richer texture to it. So I have this already in our bowl, and what we're going to do is I've already proofed my yeast. It's 2 tablespoons of yeast in 1 1/3 cup of hot water. To that, I am going to actually add 1 cup of milk. I am using whole here, but you are welcome to use any type of milk that you want. And if you are going to use a non-dairy milk, make sure that it is unflavored and unsweetened. And you're going to use about 1/2 cup of that, and then the rest volume in your warm water. So, to the flour, I have added 1 tablespoon of salt and 4 tablespoons of sugar, and I have mixed that up. So what we're going to do is just go ahead and start adding in our water, yeast, and milk mixture into the bowl. And then we're also going to add 1/2 cup of oil, any oil of your choice. I have vegetable oil here, although our family does usually use coconut oil. I actually have run out, and so until I go to get some more, I'm using some vegetable oil today. So you're going to add your vegetable oil, and you're just going to start to stir that up until it gets into a mixture that you can actually start kneading. And if you have to add a little more flour when it gets onto the table, that's completely fine. That actually is part of the process. Like I said, I have 6 in here. But also, depending on your own humidity and where you are in any part of the world, your sea level, you might actually need to add more liquid or more flour. So as you can see, it's starting to come together here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this out onto a floured area. And I'm going to start working in extra flour just so that it becomes a nice dough that we can then put together and rise. So I've got some flour out here, and I'm just going to kind of pour it out onto my kneading table. Make sure all the flour, I'm getting all of that right out. And I know I've said it before, but one of the benefits of making your bread from scratch is the fact that you know exactly what has gone into your bread making process. Now you can see it's still very sticky. It is very wet. So I'm just going to keep getting some flour into it, start getting it nice and kneaded. And what we're looking for is a springy dough. When you push on it, you're going to want it to really pop back. Now you can see there's still depressions in there, so it's not ready yet. We're getting those gluten strands to start stretching out and making sure the yeast is starting to gobble up all the sugars and the gluten that have been put into the dough. Now you can see it's starting to come together. It is still a little bit sticky, but that's okay. That's why we still have our flour out here. And you're going to notice that it is going to be pretty pliable. You don't want it to be too tough, because then it is going to make for a tougher end result in your bread. You just want to make sure that it's come together, that it's not too sticky. And I think we're almost there actually. See how that is springing back? That is a sign that we're almost at the point where we're going to go ahead and put it right back into the bowl that we put it into and start to let it rise. Yeah. Okay. So when it gets to about like this, you're literally just going to put it right back into the bowl you just had it in. Normally I would oil the bowl, but I found with this recipe I really don't have to. So I'm just going to cover it with a moist, warm tea towel and let it, actually I'm just going to leave it right there and let it set. I have some chili that I have cooking today. We're going to have chili and cornbread waffles for dinner tonight, so I already have the chili on, and I don't want to burn my tea towel. So I'm going to let it rise, and then a little bit later we'll show you how we divide it into our loaves and let it rise for a second time. Be right back. As you can see, it has doubled in size, and this is exactly what we're looking for. So now I'm going to put out some flour onto our surface. I'm going to take that, I'm going to take it out here and just dump it onto my floured counter. And what we're going to do now is punch down the loaf. Well, it's actually going to make 2 loaves. So we're going to punch down the dough, and we're going to form it into 2 loaves and put those 2 loaves into greased bread pans. And if you look over here, you can see I have my first 2 loaves that have just come out of the oven. So they're cooling, and I have my loaf pans ready to go again. So as you can see, I have all this here. It's been nice and floured. We're going to just push it down like this. Get all of the air bubbles out. We're not really re-kneading anything. We're just going to push it out. So I have my thing here. I'm just going to kind of square it off a little, because what we're going to do is actually make 2 logs. That makes the best loaves, in my opinion. And since this is enough, the recipe is enough to make 2, I'm literally going to cut those 2 into 2 halves here. Okay, we're going to just kind of roll them up. Yep. Just like that. So it's into a nice log. And then I'm just going to actually put it right into the pan. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the other one. And that's just going to roll it up, kind of tuck under the edges, and then put it right here into my loaf pan. Now, I kind of, just so I make sure it's good and even. And now all we're going to do is let that rise. And it's going to rise for about 30 minutes. Once it has risen up, we're going to put it into a 350-degree oven for about 45 minutes. And as you can see, this is the one I made with our completely all-purpose flour. 6 cups of all-purpose flour, and then these ones are going to be the half and half. The half whole wheat and half all-purpose flour. So once it's risen, we're going to put it in the oven, and when it's all done, I'll let you see how it turns out. So we'll be back.